a link to everybody. So welcome to our February House of Worship program. Yay, so exciting to see everybody, and we have some great speakers today. So I have the agenda pulled up here. We're gonna hear from Kendall again. You guys heard from her at our first meeting about Energy Star Portfolio Manager. She has an update. And then we turned our agenda around a little bit, not that you would necessarily notice, but we're going to hear after Kendall from Tiffany from National Wildlife Federation, and Tanya, who is with the EPA. She's going to cover some water strategies and some other energy reducing strategies. And then Jennifer will run the House of Worship reporting. Then we will get into our open conversation and questions. Yay. So Kendall, I'm going to let you take it away. Do you need to share your screen at all? Probably not, right?
Actually, I may want to share.
All right. I will make you a co-host while you start your talking.
Okay.
Do you want to turn your screen on though? Is it off because of your power, maybe?
No, because I figured I'm just sharing my screen anyway.
Oh, okay. All right,
let
me get to you and I'll make you co-host. I didn't think you had a co-host. Okay. There we go.
All right. So hi, everyone. I've been working closely with several of you, so I feel like we've talked a lot recently, which is great because we've had a lot of success in getting folks set up in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And I think it was when I was speaking with Warren that he asked, so now what? So what do we do next with the information that we have in Portfolio Manager? And so while I'm not prepared to go through a super thorough tutorial on like what's next and all the different ways in which you can use it, I did want to spend just a little bit of time sharing a few different resources with you all. Let me share my screen right now. Give me 1 second here. Okay. All right, so can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so several of you will see that your House of Worship is listed here. This is the Detroit 2030 District Energy Star Portfolio Manager account. We work with over 460 buildings in the city of Detroit, including your buildings here. We're just missing 3 houses of worship here, but they are very, very close, basically already set up in here. But I just wanted to share with you all and ask if anybody wouldn't mind volunteering their house of worship, if I could open it up and just show the group what the property profile looks like and how to kind of navigate this.
You can open up Lord of Lords if you want to.
Yeah. Or
Was that you, Warren?
Joseph's.
Or you can do ours, no problem. Go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I guess if we want to open up a few, so
No, it's fine.
okay. So here, most of you have successfully enrolled in the DTE pilot, and we've created your property profiles if you didn't already have one. So the property profile, if I go into here, contains just some basic information about the property. And one thing I wanted to mention is the data that's been input from DTE. When I click on the energy tab, down here you can see DTE has input data going back to January 1st of 2019. And actually they have data going back to January 1st of 2019. What I need to do is make a special request that they input the 2019 data in here for you as well, because the way they currently have it set up is that even if the data for 2019 is available in the DTE hub, they're only transferring the data starting January 1st of 2020. So I will make a special request for any of the houses of worship that don't have that 2019 data in here. But DTE provided data going back January 1st, 2019, and on a monthly basis, we'll continue to update this data. So here you can see the data has been updated through December 31st of 2022. You may not be aware, but DTE updates this monthly data on the 28th of each month. So, and they lag behind at least a month or two, in some cases 3 months. It depends on the customer, but it looks like for the most part, this data has been updated. So I would expect that data through January 31st of this year will be updated in here by the 28th of this month. So, so here's where you can have a visual of your data. And actually, Bob, do you mind if I share your church? Because I remember when we were reviewing your data, I
Right.
said, what happened?
Yes,
What
and
happened?
I was going to bring it up anyway, so I'm glad you are, Kendall.
Yeah, let me go back. Because it's helpful to hear how this information has already been useful to folks, and to hear from each other too. So let me go to our houses of worship. And yeah, St. Peter's. So when I was working with Bob and getting this set up, and we looked at the data initially, first of all, you can turn off, I'll also show you, you can turn off things so you can see an increase in the electric consumption, but also in the gas around the same time frame. And so when I was talking with Bob, I was like, well, what happened? What happened here? Why did you have such a significant spike? And Bob, feel free to share.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a really bad boiler leak that had turned our building on the outside. It looked more like coming out of the chimney, looked more like a locomotive rather than a building because it was constant steam. We were producing steam, and then instead of going to the radiators, a lot of it was escaping right up the chimney. So we had a huge spike in our water and gas consumption. And I'm really happy to say that, like, our December bill was half. Our December of January 22 and our January bill half of what that was back in January of 2022 and December of 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll, the whole picture telling worth 1,000 words. You know, when I share that with others, they can see why it was worth spending that money.
Yeah. And Bob, I see that I also need to make that request of DTE for you as well to get that 2019 data in here. I'm also a little concerned why your electric is lagging so far. So when I reach out to them, I can request that information, or at least ask the question why it's lagging so far back. One interesting thing for your house of worship too is you have solar, and I can't recall if all of, or what houses of worship have solar. I don't recall if Lord of Lords or was looking into it. Yeah, okay. So I know, Bob, you have solar at your house of worship. So one thing that the DTE pilot does not yet do is incorporate the renewable energy generation data in here. So so that has not been input. That is something that has to be entered manually.
Okay.
And so, Bob, I'd be happy to follow up with you on that too, to see. There was another building that we had supported a couple of years ago, a multifamily building, and on how to input their renewable energy data in here. So that's something that is.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that's something that I think will also, you know, it will be incorporated into your overall energy consumption. And the other thing is that once your energy data is entered, you are going to, there will be an Energy Star score generated. And buildings that have an Energy Star score of 75 or greater are eligible to apply for an Energy Star certification. And they send you a plaque that you can hang in the building. I always mention downtown City Hall has been doing that for over 10 years, and they have those plaques in the main lobby where the public enters the building. So it's nice to see the or to just display and share that story with anyone who enters the building. I also wanted to mention that there is a water tab. I haven't worked with many of you on the water consumption piece because that also is currently a manual entry process. I started working on that with Lord of Lords. I need to follow up with you on that another time, but you can input the water data. So Bob's House of Worship has been using Energy Star, or was using Energy Star prior to this treasure hunt in the past. So there is some data in here. Looks like from 2014 through 2016. But if you wanted to input data, you'd have to pull out the bills and decide how far back you really want to
Gotcha.
go. You could go back to April of 2016 if you have the bills available. That's a possibility. Or you can just decide, when it makes sense. There's a spreadsheet that you can track the water data in. And once you have it completed, you can do an upload and it will all just be uploaded. And I can share that with everybody if that's something that you want to start doing. Or I can meet with you briefly and kind of review that. There's also opportunities to track solid waste as well. These are all, it requires a little bit more work on the tracking side, but I just wanted to make sure you understood this as a tool. And let's see what else. So, so reporting. So there is a way to generate reports in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And there's a lot of different templates that Energy Star has, but you can also do your own. You can create a new template and you can name it whatever you want. You can pick your time frame. So for most of you, your time frame, if you wanted to look at all of your data, would start January 1 of 2019. And so you would select your property and you could generate reports, and you can pick a lot of different metrics or different fields that you would like to see. It's actually somewhat overwhelming, but you can choose the most basic information, but you can also, you can see on the left-hand side on the menu just how many different metrics you can use this and pull different reports. I wanted to show you. So this is the Energy Star Portfolio Manager benchmarking. This is like their main web page. It has a lot of resources on it, and I wanted to point two things out specifically. They have a help center, number one. I use this a lot. They have a lot of commonly asked questions, but if you feel like your question is unique or you have a very specific question in mind, if you hit contact support, you can send a message to the EPA and they are very responsive. I almost always hear back, definitely the same day, but sometimes within an hour. So that is a resource if you had any reporting questions on generating those reports. But also on the training tab, there is a way for you to, there's a lot of guides and everything, but I get a newsletter from the EPA, from Energy Star, monthly. And I'm trying to see where it is, and I can join the mailing list. I'll put this in the chat right now. They send out a monthly email, and sometimes if they have special webinars, they send those too, but they do monthly Energy Star benchmarking. Energy Star Portfolio Manager, like benchmarking 101, 201, 301. They record all of these and distribute them after you register if you're unable to attend, but they do it on a monthly basis. So if either you or anyone from your team had interest in kind of diving in a little bit more on the reporting, like what sort of report you want to generate or how you want to use this going forward, I recommend that. So I'm going to put the link in the chat where you can sign up to receive these updates. They don't send too many emails, but at least one per month. And I find them to be really helpful. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else right now, or if there's any questions that I can help answer.
How do you do a year comparison, year by year? On the DTE Energy site, they had a simple graph that compared 2021 and 22 all on the same. So you can see the trends year to year. And I didn't see it. And or I'm sure that Energy Portfolio Management has this. Is there a standard report that puts all 3 years over one another so you can see the variation year to year?
Yeah, and let me show you one other. Yes, so treasure hunt.
You go ahead and do it for us. Go ahead. Yeah.
So one thing I want to show you.
See, that just has, 2021 to 22 sequentially.
Yes. So one thing I wanted to show you is down here, it shows your 2 meters that are set up with the DTE
Right.
hub. If you click on one of the meters, oh, I see. I need to address that. But if you click on one of the meters, like the electric meter,
Okay.
DTE provided the kilowatt hour usage, from the start of the month to the end of the month. But if you ever need this data, number one, in just a spreadsheet format, you
Okay.
can download right.
Okay. Great.
I think you can. I don't know if you have to select it first or if I can just. Oh yeah. All meter entries, or you can select a specific amount of time. So if you wanted to do January
Okay.
21. Now this isn't going to produce like a graph or chart for you, but it's going to give you the data in an Excel spreadsheet by month. So that's
Okay.
one way to at least download the data in a spreadsheet. But let me go back to.
DTE had a nice graph. You just click one click and you had it. The 3 years compared one to another.
Yeah, let me open that up. Just I know most people have seen it, but not everybody. So the DTE data hub.
And the bottom line was we looked pretty consistent year to year, and where we thought we'd have improvements, we did see improvement.
Yep. Let me pull that up right now. Okay. So again, this is the Detroit 2030 district dashboard. So like I said, we work with over 460 buildings, and most or many of them are in here, including the houses of worship. If I go to, let me see if the search is working. Sometimes it doesn't work for me. Okay. So this is what
Yeah,
Warren
that was a really good graph.
Yeah, so this is what Warren was talking about. So everybody has, everyone who has completed the enrollment and set this up has access to log into the DTE hub, where this graph is available. And again, you can click these on or off. So you can just look at 21, 22, but these graphs are available both electric and gas. So this is just another tool. I believe DTE is going to continue to build this resource out. And I know that they're looking to include cost data right now. And it looks like you can do a similar download your usage data. But these graphs may be really helpful for you as well, for reference. It's just a different view than what you're getting in Energy Star Portfolio Manager.
Very good. One other question. I noticed our Energy Star Portfolio Manager was 62. And, I didn't do anything to generate that. And then they said the goal was at least 75. So maybe we can talk offline and see how that was 65 and against the 72. We basically haven't done anything yet.
Yep. And
Well,
sometimes,
we've done a lot of things, but not within the program, that's my point. Right?
exactly. So
We-
understanding how.
So
yeah.
actually that, I guess we have, we got all LED, we've made a lot of progress, but I guess that's a good starting point. It just shows you that we had done some work before we got involved too.
Yeah, and so with Energy Star, so if I click here to see if you're eligible, it may be because of your building type, but when you click on, when we were entering your building information, you'll want to make sure, just double check that your built and square footage, everything looks accurate. But
Okay,
when I go to, let me see if it's this next one. Maybe it's in details. Oh yeah, okay. So this is where we input that the building's 15,000 square feet, the parking lot's 6,000 square feet, and there's parking lot lighting that's part of the energy consumption. But anywhere where you see these stars, these stars mean that you must enter information if you are going after Energy Star certification. So in everybody's case here, that was not the goal at this time. So we didn't enter any information. But here you can see Energy Star entered a default value, or there's nothing included. But you would want to make sure that all of this information is updated. And if you hover over these, it kind of gives you an explanation of what Energy Star is looking for. So I think once your score starts to improve and you get closer to 75 and you want to look into Energy Star certification, you want to make sure that you have a lot of this information entered in here. And the process for going through Energy Star certification is, there is a third party. There are third parties that do this for no cost, but they would have to review your data, review all your information in here, make sure everything looks accurate, and then in order to get your certification with the EPA.
okay, but that answers the
it's-
question. Yeah, I see what's behind it. That's exactly what I'm wondering. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's all down the road, and as you're making additional progress and improvements on your facilities, just keep all of this in mind. Especially, yeah, as you start to make more improvements, you should start to see your score improve.
Very good,
So-
thank you.
Yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Like, I really encourage you all to sign up for those, the newsletter from Energy Star, because you're going to see on a monthly basis those benchmarking 101 tutorials, and they're usually an hour long over lunchtime, and they can be really helpful. So I think that was everything. And I know I'm working with Sonia and I'm working with Yvette. I don't know if she's on the call, but I know Sonia is. So we're almost close to having finishing setting this up for both of your houses of worship. So I'm excited that we have almost everybody set up here. So that's all I had.
Great. Thanks, Kendall. I'm so glad we had you on. That's so much information. It's so good to see this all. So we'll have to have you do this again, a couple more meetings. Thanks. Anybody got any more questions? We got through everybody just in time.
You know where to find me. And I have to hop off for a noon call, but I'm sure I will talk with some of you soon.
Thanks, Kendall.
Okay, bye.
All right. Okay, just in time for you, Tiffany.
Awesome. I
Welcome
will-
to Tiffany Jones.
Sounds good. And I'm formerly Tiffany Curie. You all probably know me by my former name, but I just got married, so I'm slowly but surely moving my name over to formal documents and such. So I will share my screen and I will get started. Okay. Can everyone hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, let me minimize a lot of the faces I see here because they're like taking up my view. Okay, So my name is Tiffany Carey. Oh my God, my name is Tiffany Jones. This is how it happens. And I
Will
work
the
for
real Tiffany Jones please stand up?
This is wild. I'm coming in as two folks today. So, oh my gosh, my husband is not here, so he did not hear that. So I am Tiffany Jones and I work for the National Wildlife Federation. It's great to see some familiar faces and some new ones as well. And I will be just talking a little bit about the Sacred Grounds program for folks who are familiar, but I am going to start with a very high level, what National Wildlife Federation is, what we're doing on a Great Lakes kind of scale in the regional center, as well as some programmatic work that we have in Detroit, actually supporting House of Worship. So to take a step back, National Wildlife Federation has been around for about 87 years. With this mission of uniting all Americans to ensure wildlife and people thrive in a rapidly changing world, right? So a lot of our main focus across the country, we have about 300 or so staff working on a range of different issues around the wildlife crisis, climate crisis, nature deficit, through policy, education, Ranger Rick magazines, if you know about Ranger Rick, science-based advocacy, as well as engaging communities. So we have 8 regional centers across the country, and our regional center covers Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. And our office is based out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we have about, it's give or take 25 to 30 staff now. This is not representative of all the folks. Actually, we have some virtual folks on the screen. So this is our team, and our focus areas in the region cover water, Great Lakes restoration, Great Lakes quality, water affordability, education, habitat programming, climate resiliency, and a range of other topics. So we're a mighty team that covers really the gamut of what you think about when it comes to wildlife conservation, Great Lakes restoration work, as well as engaging communities to do this work across all difference, as well as locations. So our team of 2, we represent our education and community engagement team, and we really work closely with communities and our local partners. And some of you already know about maybe Friends of the Rouge, Sierra Club of Michigan, Detroit Collaborative Design Center, Keep Growing Detroit. So these are a few of our local partners that we work with pretty regularly to increase healthy habitats, and really thinking about how climate resilience and communities as well as resilience goes hand in hand. So our team of 2, Tiffany Jones, as well as Manya Holland, lead this work. And we're working across 4 cities, which includes Toledo, Cleveland, Grand Rapids, and Detroit. So our kind of mission, if we were to have our value statement as a team, is to support healthy habitats and communities and inspire the next generation of conservation leaders and stewards across the region. So I am going to speak a lot about the Sacred Grounds program, which is one of our kind of key programs that we've been running out of our team for the last, almost 5 years. And really the key, I guess, even bedrock of this program is recognizing congregations, house of worship, sacred spaces, faith communities who both create wildlife habitat and actively really link these faith practices in caring for the environment. So folks really come to this work with so many different motives, perspectives, even just approaches to why they see faith and earth stewardship together. And as we kind of just talked about a few minutes ago, there is an energy aspect to this, right? When we're talking about stewarding the earth, it may be from a pollinator perspective, or, growing a garden, but it also is stewarding your building. It could also be stewarding your water, your waste. So we really come in from a National Wildlife Federation kind of lens, not as a faith-based institution, right? But we're saying, how do we engage communities that have traditionally been left out of the conservation conversation, as well as the movement, but also realizing that houses of worship are anchors in the community historically, and will forever be a place of solace, healing, and engagement. So we really wanted to wrap our arms around congregations, house of worship across the region to provide support and provide even tools for agency for allowing them to create wildlife habitat on their properties. So kind of the key elements for Sacred Grounds, and these are just the pillars. This is how people come to the work and how we talk about it, is educating, engaging the congregation. So how do we connect faith and environmental stewardship? And folks do a range of different things, from scripture readings, creating a labyrinth on their property, having some educational programs with youth, so many ways to make that connection. And also creating a native plant garden habitat, all the way from something very small, maybe a beautification, garden in front of the entrance, to large scale green stormwater infrastructure projects, right? So we really work on the spectrum of whatever works for the property, but also meeting people where they are and allowing that stewardship to happen kind of one step at a time. And then most importantly, connecting these practices to the greater community. House of Worship have, I think, most land use, when we're talking about across the country, parking lots and land to be places for demonstrations. So as people are walking, even just nearby the church, who may not be faith believers, but can see the practices going on from the outside, may have an opportunity to engage in the church, or just to be able to see a garden and say, I want to take that to my home and take that to my school and my community. So we really see House of Worship as anchor institutions to disseminate these practices to the neighboring community, but also to the broader community outside of the property. And just as a kind of, this is just some examples of why we do this work. It's providing opportunities for people to connect to nature. When we're thinking about wildlife as well as beautification and what native plants and gardening can do. We've seen many research papers, right, coming out even during the COVID pandemic around social and emotional and mental health. Being outside for even a few minutes can change a mood, and it can change people's spirits, and that's something that we want to uplift. Again, the faith and connection to earth stewardship, building resilient communities through, for instance, supporting green stormwater infrastructure projects that mitigate stormwater and capture precipitation and rain from large stormwater events, and not to overflow our sewage systems. Increasing wildlife habitat, knowing that pollinators need their food, and supporting the caterpillars and all those small critters that we love, and allowing them to have different green spaces along the way throughout the city to thrive, as well as creating a safe place and peaceful green space for prayer, reflection, again, solace. And sometimes, most importantly, people are like, okay, what does this do for my pockets? Reducing costs for stormwater fees. So we've worked closely with House of Worship to install these projects on kind of the larger end, to reduce that DWSD water utility fee as well. I think this is kind of the same thing, but just more benefits of why we work with native plants, but also through this lens of the program. Beautification is another one that I wanted to bring up, as well as improving water quality, life, wellness, etc. So this is just a picture, and I always love this graphic because it really gets at why we use native plants. And coming from a conservation organization, and even a personal background in urban ecology, looking at the turf grass. I don't know if you can see the far left of the graph. There is this little green sliver, and it shows what grass, how deep the roots go. And then as you go along the gradient to the right, when you plant native plants, and we can talk about black-eyed Susan, coneflowers, how deep the root systems are that help manage that water flow. So native plants are not just aesthetically pleasing, they not just, provide beauty and, again, access to nature, but they also help considerably with our water quality and stormwater management practices. So kind of focusing on, and I'm not a purist, so folks are like, what about food gardens? Obviously, we're going to encourage food gardens, and actually there's a lot of cool connections between native plant gardens and food gardens, but really prioritizing native plants and going back to what really existed in Michigan, and not going for the European or the Japanese, that although they're beautiful, don't have the same quality for not only habitat and food for our pollinators and wildlife, but also all the benefits that native plants can do in our gardens. So I think I mentioned this, but these are our current locations: Toledo, Cleveland, Detroit, Grand Rapids. We are a team of 2, but we have reached 87 houses of worship across the region through these 4 cities through the Sacred Grounds program. So that is crazy and huge, but we're also projecting for 100 at the end of the year. And this, again, is working directly with House of Worship. And I always want to emphasize this would not happen without our local partners, allowing us to provide funding, programmatic support, community kind of engagement practices along the way. So to get to kind of like, what do you all actually do? This program sounds cool, but how do you actually support each site? And this ranges, and I just want to be clear about that, with different cities. And here it says, you know, we provide mini grants for $1,500. That is a part of our kind of basic package, if you will, of how our Sacred Grounds program is modeled. However, these last 2 years, we were able to get a significant amount from the National Fish and Wildlife Federation to install large-scale green stormwater infrastructure projects. And what that means is $1,500 is not going to divert or to capture thousands of gallons of water. So we have to go a little bit bigger, and most times much bigger, in installing large-scale native plant rain gardens at houses of worship to help mitigate not only stormwater, but the costs, and creating more wildlife habitat, access to nature, green spaces. So along the way, we support each site with project planning, plant selection, garden design, kind of this community charrette where houses of worship and their faith leaders, along with the community, are able to gather around and talk about what is this garden going to be. And it could be just a pollinator habitat, right? But some folks like, well, we have young children, so how do we incorporate sensory gardens and outdoor classroom elements? Some people we really want to focus on the faith element. So like, let's have a labyrinth along with our native plants incorporated. Other folks come in and say, we want a walking path throughout our garden. So there's so many ways that we support the design and installation of the project, along with funding and then facilitating opportunities for workshops, garden tours, events, and forums across various faith communities. And before I go to this next slide, I want to also mention from an equity perspective, we do target climate vulnerable communities, especially in Detroit when we're talking about Jefferson Chalmers, as well as the River Rouge watershed that have been hit disproportionately with flooding. That is one of the matrix that we think about when we are selecting sites, as well as interfaith. This is not all Protestant. This is not all Catholic. This is an opportunity for any faith to come to the program. And actually, there's been some really awesome organic conversations and just discussions and dialogue of how different faiths see this work. We're talking about faith and earth stewardship that's so broad. How do, mosques versus synagogues versus Baptist church, how do all these folks talk about something so big, so important, so critical, but also the vision of how we see our cities? So I wanted to lift that up as a way that we not only recruit, but how we engage throughout the program as well. This is another kind of component that we work with Keep Growing Detroit, specifically in Detroit around, and we actually facilitate workshops throughout the year that allow for that third pillar of dissemination of best practices in the community. So not just working with House of Worship, but how do we hold different workshops and forums of giving away native plant kits? And this is the value between $50 to $75, but really allowing for residents in Detroit to start their own native plant garden. So we host various workshops that say, how do you start a native plant? What is a native plant? How do you design a 10 by 10 garden, very small? And then providing the funds for folks to do that in their residence or their even container gardens at various homes that have apartment buildings. We want to be inclusive for anyone who wants to start doing this work, but doesn't have the land even to do it. So there's some inclusivity to that approach as well. So I will kind of just show a few of our projects, and there's so many. We have over 20 sites in Detroit working through the Sacred Grounds program at so many different levels, from again, those small gardens to large scale rain gardens, which is one here. Detroit Community, Hope Community of Christ Church near Brightmoor off of Losser. They just installed last year, summer, about, 2 medium scale rain garden installations. Really amazing program. They run a Brightmoor pantry out of the House of Worship. They are connected to a senior living home right across the way that also has their own garden, is looking to do some native plant container gardens on the apartment building, porch for elderly folks to be able to engage in the work, as well as some residents around the community. So this is a really awesome opportunity where we had a lot of volunteers who came out, more of a dig day than a planting day. That's kind of the boring part, but we were able to overall in this program engage about 225 people in the installation of 6 rain gardens these last 2 years. Another place, if you haven't been to the Marygrove Conservancy, was formerly Marygrove College and is now going to be kind of a cradle to career campus that's engaging early childhood education all the way up to high school and eventually college. We installed a large scale rain garden that actually was able to capture stormwater runoff from, I think, three downspouts along the building. There's a lot of downspouts on that property. So this is one of many that we're hoping to support, but we were able to get some volunteers, and you can see how large it is, the excavation as well as the planting. But it was one of the courtyards. It had a lot of impervious surface, which means that the water is not soaking in, but it runs off into the sewage systems. We want more pervious surfaces on our property. So this was an opportunity for us to work with Marygrove this past fall. Another house of worship, I love this site, Bethany Lutheran on the east side. They have been working with us for a very, very long time. This took a long time with permits and approvals with the city, but we finally were able to install 2 large-scale rain gardens on their property. And they have a total of 3. And they have some amazing programming with youth in the neighborhood. So just a really great site for a demonstration as well. If you're nearby that house of worship, take a look. It's right in the front. You can't miss it. And then I just wanted to feature Christ the King Church and School. They have a lot of rain gardens that they've installed. We work with the Detroit Stormwater Specialist Program run by Friends of the Rouge, as well as Sierra Club, that train people across Detroit, residents, community members who want to know more about rain gardens, who want to know about the technical aspect of creating one, as well as maintaining one. And people get really hyped up about planting and creating a rain garden, but it takes a lot of work to maintain it. So this was a model kind of location and event where the Detroit Specialist Program, this was their kind of into the program site where they were able to plant a rain garden in person. So this was an awesome opportunity to engage with another program in Detroit, but also lift up more people who know about this work, the awareness, but also train folks who can help maintain these amazing gardens that we're putting in the ground. So I want to end with just kind of why we do this work, kind of the depth and breadth and approach. And we really believe that engaging with frontline, climate vulnerable, BIPOC communities and frontline peoples is the core of how we not only select sites, but how we see vision and how we see forward progress within conservation in Detroit and beyond, right, in across the region. And we ultimately inform our engagement in other cities through a scalable model. So how we've been able to grow 2 to 4 cities is our partners, our partners, our partners. I can't emphasize that more. They are the bedrock in the framework in which we carry out technical support, engagement, workshops, all of that. NWF and Sacred Grounds is kind of a vessel and a medium to do the work, but we will not be here without our friends, the Rouge, Sierra Club of Michigan, Detroit Future City. I can go down the list. Michigan Interfaith Power and Light, shout out to Jennifer. So just want to lift that up as the way that we scale the work and how we are able to disseminate these practices. We adhere to the principles of community work and engagement when we don't have different staff on the ground. And then just a holistic understanding of equity and how these projects should serve as not just a conservation project, but also a way to engage for social gatherings and outdoor worship services, engaging young kids to love nature, to get their hands dirty, and possibly go into green jobs in the future. Economic prosperity for our communities, and of eliminating costly bills that do not serve what needs to happen in the church or a congregation and the need for the communities. Cultural purposes, all those things are based in a solution, as well as our role that we see ourselves in Detroit and beyond to make sure that we're centering community needs. And this is the team. Found a few pictures, but if you all know Cindy Ross, she's amazing, and Lane Elliott, the Detroit Stormwater Specialist Program recipients of this year. Eli, there's just so many people that I can list, but wanted to give a shout out to them. And questions, and here is my information. I'm going to put this in the chat too, so don't worry about writing it down too quickly. Any questions?
This is Warren Tursky. Would you come out to our church and just give us ideas? We've looked at rain gardens in the past. We have a unique building. It's sort of 90 by 90, and it's a square building, so all the water goes to 4 corners. And we don't have a lot of land, but we just need some ideas. We're open to it. We like the concept, but didn't know how to implement anything given our building.
I
So
think I know exactly what church. What church, Warren, again?
it's the Saint Germain Foundation I Am Temple. It's like 4 blocks west of Fox Theater behind it, right along the I-75 Service Drive.
Yeah, like no land. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
like,
a very
yeah.
unique.
In our- Yeah, so it's, but we love the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been exploring how to still, number one, from a technical perspective, right? Design, how do you still manage stormwater without having so much land to accommodate for a large rain garden, right? So I would love to bring myself and then Friends of the Rouge out, because those are the folks who are, I think, specialists at the work, but also know how to meander those kind of weird technical elements.
Okay, so I'll follow up with you then?
Yes, please. I'm gonna put
Okay.
my email and all that cool stuff in the chat.
Thank you.
I would love to do the same, Tiffany.
Yes.
With
Oh my
St.
God,
Mary's.
it's so good to see you.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to work with you all for a minute, so let's connect, Bruce, for sure.
Okay, all right.
You have some good garden space too, but a lot of shade.
Yeah.
So much
Yeah.
shade. Okay.
Yep.
Work-
It's hard to do it in the shade. My front of my house, I can't grow a thing because.
Yeah. Maybe grasses. Grasses are really good,
Yes.
but you know.
Gentle grasses are beautiful. Yeah. that way.
Mhm.
Well, hopefully you can make your way to Lord of Lords as well. We got a lot of vacant lots around our church. And we close to the Jefferson area. We do have a flooding problem. And so we need a pep talk. We need someone to come and just kind of put a shot in our arm and say, hey, you're in a good spot. You can go forward. But we do need leadership training and development in this area.
Mr.
Interesting.
Glass, please reach out. And we are in the queue for additional funding for NIFWIP. So we are going to need more sites, right? We're going to be recruiting more house of worship for these installations. So please jot down my number and my email, and I will get back with you.
I sure will. Thank you.
Sonia.
I'll be taking, yeah, I was gonna say, I'll be taking your information as well, Tiffany.
Cool.
I'm at Plymouth United Church of Christ, and we do have some drainage concerns at our property. We've got about 67,000 square feet of parking lot, and I'd like to try to do something a little bit more sustainable there. We're
Yeah.
currently looking at the possibility of pervious pavement, which is
Uh-huh.
expensive, but rain gardens and something else in the parking lot would be help as well.
We're working with some depaving elements too, Sonia. Like, it's not permeable pavement, which is expensive, but depaving allows for you to like break up that concrete and then create green space. It's a different kind of approach, but it all depends on how much you use that parking lot too. If you're like, I need every space, then permeable pavement is probably the way to go. But we have been exploring some depaving elements too. And you can get a lot of in-kind support too from construction companies who can just break up that pavement and then remove it and create some green space too. Just some ideas. Great.
Yep, we can talk that through when we have an opportunity to either have you at the property or look at it virtually, however you do that.
Sounds good. Yes. Please take down my info.
Yep, I've got your email address here.
Great.
Thank you.
Leonard, I know you go off and on, off and on mute. Did you have a question? No, okay.
Just waiting. Thank you, Tiffany.
Absolutely. And I'll drop more info about Sacred Grounds, our video, website, all that good stuff too. So this is not just the Tiffany show, but we have some other things that programmatically, if you want to share, even if you don't have any projects, can still engage with the program with various faith communities, just like you all with District 2030, who are doing environmental stewardship. It's just a great coalition of folks. So thanks all. Thanks, Connie, for inviting me.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So Tiffany, when I send out the follow-up email with the link for the video, you can just respond to that with your information. Okay, thanks. All right. Enjoy your afternoon, Tiffany. I think she's got to go. And Tanya is next. So Tanya,
All
take it
right.
away. Share your screen if you need to.
Okay, I will share my screen. I know as soon as I share my screen, I will lose video. So I'm gonna,
Okay.
think I can do this. Let me know what you see. Do you see the main slide without notes?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay, so I know that, so that you've probably spoken with Jerry Lawson, who has focused primarily on the portfolio manager, and he works with the Energy Star program, mainly on the whole building envelope aspect. And I work on also on the Energy Star program, but a different side, which has to do with products. And so in particular set of products, in this case, commercial food service equipment. So the relationship with Energy Star and WaterSense is that whenever there is a product that includes the usage of water, Energy Star usually picks up that component as well, those metrics, and works with WaterSense to include those water metrics in the Energy Star specification. So in a sense, the Energy Star specification will cover both energy savings and water savings. So there are a few products that fall under commercial food service that include water and energy savings together. And those include dishwashers, commercial ovens, and ice makers at this time. So I'll walk through a little bit of both programs. I will focus a little bit more on energy because that's where I focus more. But I will cover some WaterSense information and encourage you to seek out the products that are under WaterSense as well. So just a quick overview. I'll go through Energy Star a little bit just as a refresher, mainly on the product side of things, and then specifically on commercial food service products and some of the resources that I work through and provide for stakeholders and partners. And then I'll walk through some of the treasure map details on energy, and then a little bit on treasure map details on water savings. So first off, Energy Star is a voluntary public-private partnership, as you may have known from talking to Jerry. It's a partnership between the federal government, manufacturers, utilities, businesses, and consumers. And it is managed by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And the goal of this partnership is to provide a clear symbol to the marketplace about which products, buildings, and programs will help businesses and individuals save money through energy efficiency. As an example, Energy Star partners with over 700 energy efficiency program sponsors, which is another term for utilities, and the utilities are serving over 90% of U.S. households. So it's a very big program. We work with a lot of retailers, lots of businesses. And on the product side, we do focus a lot on residential products, products you would find in your home. But we have other products, including commercial food service equipment and others, and they're all listed, and I will show you where to find that as well. What is Energy Star? In addition to what I just mentioned, it is a program that represents an influential and trusted symbol of energy efficiency. So it is a focus, very highly focused on energy efficiency. In fact, our logo is referenced as an Energy Star is the simple choice for energy efficiency. So if you see the Energy Star, you know immediately just by looking at the label that you are going with an energy efficient product. And since 1992, it has been a voluntary partnership among, as I mentioned, government, business, and consumers, but now it is also in its 20th year partnering with the commercial food service industry. So we do rely on coordination from all stakeholders, from input on designing energy efficient product specifications and to working with the utilities on incentives and rebates. And together, we are working to save end users money, water, and energy without sacrificing features or functionality, and overall help protect the climate. And now I'll dive into a little bit more specifics on commercial food service products. Commercial food service includes 9 product categories, and we're working on a 10th one. They're all listed here. So we have refrigerators and freezers, hot food holding cabinets, dishwashers, griddles, fryers, steam cookers, ice machines, ovens, coffee brewers, and now we're looking at electric cooktops, and this would include induction cooktops as well. For specifics on the commercial food service, I encourage you to go to the energystar.gov/CFS. And if you are interested in joining the newsletter to receive specific information on commercial food service, you can let me know or send an email to cfs@energystar.gov. Commercial kitchen equipment offers a huge opportunity to save money and energy because commercial kitchens are so energy intensive. For example, commercial kitchens use 2 to 3 times more energy per square foot than other commercial buildings, such as offices and retail stores. And as an example, a single piece of equipment is also very energy intensive. A typical electric deep fat fryer can consume more than 18,000 kilowatt hours annually, while the average US household electricity use is approximately 12,000 kilowatt hours annually. And then this pie chart on the right further demonstrates some of the relative energy uses in a full service restaurant, which is actually typically who I work with for these products. And this is for food preparation, sanitation, and refrigeration equipment. All of these fall under the CFS Energy Star portfolio. And so these 3 categories combined cover approximately 60% of the energy consumed in a full service restaurant, or in a sense, you could also equate that to commercial kitchens in general, and perhaps apply some of that energy kind of estimates to houses of worship. So the remaining categories in the pie chart are also categories that are covered by the Energy Star program, just not by me. These include lighting and HVAC equipment. And also there are other things that are not included in the pie chart, like insulation, roofing, doors and windows, as well as electronics and office equipment, such as TVs and computers. So some of this, is also covered, but it's just not in this pie chart. It's covered by the Energy Star program, but not in this pie chart. Regarding sort of the use of this equipment, just for reference, in restaurants, you can see from these statistics that Energy Star certified equipment is relatively popular and is showing up in commercial kitchens across the US. We see that nearly half of all restaurants surveyed for National Restaurant Association's report on the state of the restaurant sustainability is Energy Star certified for commercial refrigerators. 41% use Energy Star certified commercial freezers and ice makers, and 25 use certified commercial dishwashers. And then a smaller percentage, but still pretty good, 22% of all restaurants surveyed use Energy Star certified fryer models. So that's quick statistics. And then Energy Star certified equipment is rather more energy efficient and reduces energy costs without compromising quality. Designing a commercial kitchen with Energy Star certified equipment could save an operator 340 million BTUs a year, or more than $5,300 a year on energy bills. So higher efficiency means more energy is getting into the food and then less energy is wasted. But if you buy energy efficient equipment, the price tag tends to be a bit higher than less efficient equipment. So there is a way to get through that. So nowadays we've seen that there's a gap in pricing, the gap in pricing is actually narrowing in some of the categories. Also, the payback period is relatively quick for a lot of this energy efficient equipment. And third, and maybe most easily sort of identified, are rebates. They can further narrow the difference on the cost and nearly eliminate this price gap completely in some instances. So how can you identify equipment or what the best equipment might be for you? We have developed a number of helpful marketing resources and tools. The CFS portfolio of products recently updated the equipment calculator, dealer distributor toolkit, and sell sheets for all of the 9 product categories. We also have a number of Ask the Expert blog posts on how to tips for saving energy in commercial kitchens. And also we have this, the CFS equipment calculator is a really big part of the dealer and distributor toolkit, which is used largely by utilities actually and program implementers. It's a way to estimate potential energy, water, and cost savings in any facility. You simply enter your location and equipment quantity in all the available fields, and the tool will automatically calculate the annual and life cycle savings, as well as percent savings with Energy Star certified equipment relative to standard equipment. So it's a really quick snapshot of savings based on the equipment that you use in your kitchen. This dealer and distributor toolkit, don't get swayed by that title. It can be useful for more than just the dealers and distributors, but it is a step-by-step guide really for using the CFS equipment calculator and to calculate the customer's return on investment, as well as to leverage other Energy Star resources like the product finder, rebate finder, and sell sheets. So the sell sheets, they contain specifications on energy and water savings that can be used to promote the equipment, but it's also a useful guide for anyone purchasing equipment. It gives you a quick snapshot of some of the benefits. But I'll go through some of the other resources next, these tools that are helpful. So the product finder is a publicly available searchable database of Energy Star certified products, which is very frequently updated. And so it does include more than commercial food service, includes everything you can, almost everything that you might see at a home or in a commercial space. I wouldn't say everything, but it is a lot of products. A lot of products are covered. So I would encourage you to check this link, energystar.gov /product finder to see what's available. So these Energy Star certified models are offered for sale in the US. These are listed in this database, and you can find a lot of information about each specific unit that was tested and third-party certified. That includes the machine type, the manufacturer, energy and water consumption measurements, model numbers, brand names, everything. Everything's located here. You can actually pull that information into an Excel sheet and look at that way and analyze it if you'd like to. That's that. The next is a rebate finder. So in case you would prefer to look at this page instead of contacting your utility, you can search by the zip code. So you would filter out for products that you are interested in and identify a rebate amount, rebate type, and also it could connect you to the utility that offers that particular rebate. So either way, going through the utility directly or through this rebate finder are great ways to find ways to save on Energy Star certified equipment. And then for commercial food service equipment purchases, we also have a dealer and distributor finder. That's if you'd like to purchase that particular equipment. That also identifies the dealers and distributors that sell Energy Star certified equipment. And it also directs customers to retail partners, storefronts, or websites. And again, it's based off of a zip code, and a search engine generates a map and a list of the nearest dealers and distributors, including their contact information, address, and website. If you enter your zip code and don't find any within reach, you can also enter all zeros for the zip code and see where the partners are located. Some may distribute to you from further away. The CFS dealer and distributors also can join Energy Stars, so you can actually find this full list of retail partners in other places. And if you happen to know of any, you can direct them to join as Energy Star partners. Okay, now this is a very useful resource. It does say Restaurant, Cafe, and Commercial Kitchens Guide. We do refer to it typically as the Restaurant Guide, but it is a complementary resource to the treasure map or treasure hunts that you've seen from Jerry. It is a downloadable and co-brandable best practices guide that's designed to help operators identify ways to save energy and water and boost their bottom line while protecting the environment. So most importantly, this guide includes cost savings per product type, incentive ranges across the US, benchmarking resources, water conservation tips, and a lot more. What I'll do next is I'll walk through the commercial refrigeration section and with the WaterSense program as outlined partly in this guide and partly in the treasure map for worship facilities. That way you have a point of reference and information useful from both of those documents. Just before I jump into that, I have included the link to the most current treasure map for worship facilities. So you can locate that on the web and this restaurant guide and sort of refer to them side by side. So first, I'll start with the commercial refrigeration equipment. This, just to reiterate, it does not have a water metric. This product category does not have that, but there are useful energy saving tips that I thought would be helpful to go over in this slide. So these certified refrigerators and freezers, they offer an average energy savings of about 40–50% compared to standard models. To maintain efficiency over time, this guide and the treasure map list some important cost saving and maintenance tips. And particularly this has to do with cleaning. So cleaning and replacing worn gaskets that would maintain proper insulation at the door edge of the cooled compartment. Second, avoiding stifling the refrigeration unit, so giving it enough room for adequate airflow to function efficiently. Also maintaining a distance from heating equipment, such as ovens, fryers, and griddles. So basically keep cold equipment on the cold side, warm equipment on the warm side, and try to keep them away from each other. And then so maintaining that distance. And then inspecting and cleaning the condenser coils, which are essentially heat exchangers between the cooled compartment and the ambient air. So just a little bit more about the condenser coils. Kitchen environments are really tough on equipment with lots of heat and grease that can settle and stick to the condenser coil. So it can be soiled further by dust and other particles. So together, all of these factors make cooling rather difficult and make the refrigerator or freezer work a bit harder to do its job, which ultimately manifests itself in a refrigerator or freezer that does not get cold enough. So one of the easiest ways to save energy on your utility bills is to clean your refrigerator condenser coils. So getting a cleaning brush for a couple dollars and making a schedule to clean them every month or two before cleaning or any other maintenance. Make sure to unplug the unit first. Depending on the type of equipment, the condenser coils can be located under the refrigerator, behind the base grill, on the back of the refrigerator, or on the top. So in some cases, this may not be a one-person job. And then for detailed instructions, I would suggest looking into instructional videos online, especially from the manufacturer. Apart from equipment maintenance, there are a couple of other items that I highlighted here. The Energy Star Most Efficient Distinction. So this has to do with that's the first one, Energy Star Most Efficient, and the second is the Responsible Appliance Disposal Program, or RAD. So they're highlighted in yellow here. Both of these initiatives are specifically designed for residential appliances. So just keep that in mind. My understanding is that the worship facilities may purchase residential refrigeration equipment instead of commercial. And so there's a little bit of a difference there. If you're going with residential, you have a little bit more of an edge in the sense that you have this most efficient program that Energy Star manages. And it's a distinction that recognizes products that deliver cutting edge energy efficiency along with the latest in technological innovation. And it really truly represents the best of of Energy Star certified products. So these product categories are included under the most efficient distinction. They include residential refrigerators and freezers and dishwashers, clothes washers and dryers, room air conditioners, dehumidifiers, heating and cooling equipment, ventilating fans, ceiling fans, computer monitors, and windows. So a lot of residential focused products are captured under the most efficient. So if you're interested in purchasing anything in those categories, I would recommend looking at that list as well. So look into that hyperlink here if you're searching for those particular products. And then regarding RAD, whoops, hold on. Oh, here it is, the RAD program. This is another Environmental Protection Agency program that is a partnership program launched in 2006. It's intended to protect the ozone layer, cut greenhouse gas emissions, and benefit communities. It is also very strongly tied with utilities, with utility programs. So you would also, if you're already talking to utilities about rebates, you may also want to talk to them about refrigerant or refrigeration recycling. So it basically what RAD does is it recognizes partners that commit to collecting and disposing of old refrigerated appliances using the best environmental practices available and going beyond what is required by federal law. So refrigerants are located in refrigeration equipment, and that also includes ice makers. So if you're thinking about water savings and going with a more efficient ice maker, you would also be looking at, the metrics for energy efficiency and for water efficiency. Sorry, and water conservation. So, so regarding appliances that are recycled under this program, they include refrigerators, freezers, window air conditioners, and dehumidifiers. And you might want to ask about ice makers. They do not tend to focus on commercial, but you may be able to find some that do. Again, this is a separate program from Energy Star, so they may have evolved over time and have additional partners. But they tend to include retailers, utilities, local governments, and manufacturers. So bottom line, if you're thinking of replacing a residential refrigeration equipment, which should be anywhere from 9 to 12 years of life, consult with your utility on proper disposal. And you may use this RAD program, the EPA RAD program, as a resource. All right, now going into ovens, and as I mentioned before, ovens also have a water consumption metric associated with them in addition to the energy. So to maintain efficiency of ovens over time, the guide, the restaurant guide and the treasure map, they list some important cost saving and maintenance tips. They include inspecting and replacing worn gaskets and tightening hinges, also fully loading the oven when cooking and calibrating the thermostats. Griddles, fryers, and other cooking equipment, they also heat up pretty quickly. And the general recommendation for restaurants and other commercial kitchens, which may apply, is to establish operating procedures or making a schedule for firing up and shutting down each piece of equipment. So this way you're avoiding running cooking equipment all the time and running the exhaust to it all the time if you happen to have one, sort of unnecessarily. So having a schedule is important. And this applies to water savings too, really knowing what's being used. And I think this is maybe Jerry's term. I've heard him say this before in talks. If you don't measure it, you won't know it. You won't know what you're actually using. So I think that's the principle applied here as well, as sort of having a schedule for use. So this simple change in a procedure, just really knowing what's going on, can cut your energy use by 3 to 5%. And really doesn't cost much. You can oversee the project yourself, use a checklist, designate someone in the congregation as an energy manager, for example. And I guess in this case, you could also think about a water manager, so energy and water manager combined. The main thing is to get you thinking about ways to save energy, save water, and posting that information where it can be seen and thus implemented easily. There are additional commercial kitchen appliances that are highlighted here and they are covered in the restaurant guide, but not in the treasure map per se. This equipment includes broilers, ranges, HVAC, water heaters, ventilation, and lighting. I encourage you to review the restaurant guide for more details. Furthermore, the guide and the treasure map also cover tips, like I said, to limit water consumption. And that is covered by the EPA's WaterSense program. So I'll talk a little bit about WaterSense now. So WaterSense is very much a separate volunteer partnership program. As I mentioned, it includes over 20,000 product models that have earned the WaterSense label, including products like shower heads and lavatory faucets. So a lot of different products. For, like I mentioned, for many Energy Star certified products, we do have water conservation metrics as well as energy metrics. So one of these products that was formerly WaterSense, a WaterSense labeled product, but is now regulated by DOE, is the pre-rinse spray valve. So this is often used in commercial and institutional kitchens. These pre-rinse spray valves are designed to remove food waste from dishes prior to dishwashing, unless using less water at high pressure. So by switching to a high efficiency, low pre-rinse spray valve, a commercial or institutional kitchen can save more than $110 annually in energy and water costs. So until recently, these pre-rinse spray valves used to be labeled under WaterSense, but the DOE, the Department of Energy, adopted the WaterSense efficiency threshold and the performance test for the national energy regulation covering these devices. So as a result, WaterSense has sunset the specification for pre-rinse spray valves effective January 1st, 2019. And now the revised federal regulation requires every pre-rinse spray valve sold in the United States to meet or exceed the efficiency criteria that were established in the previous WaterSense specification. So success. So again, WaterSense is EPA's Energy Star equivalent in a way for water conservation and efficiency, and they do provide very similar tools, resources, training, and technical support. And I think this link may provide very useful resources if you would like to explore this further. And then one last thing I'll mention here is directly pulled from the treasure map. There are a couple of things to think about, and that is, that water conservation practices may be applied both inside and outside of buildings. And common to both of these spaces are really, again, surveying water use. Like I said before, with having a schedule on energy sort of usage, this is kind of another parallel thing, and surveying your water use, especially identifying any leaks, and also utilizing the WaterSense program for water saving labeled products and rebates. Additional savings indoors may be realized through reasonable water temperature settings and insulation for older water heater models, and potentially replacing tank heaters with a tankless option. The tankless are also referred to as on-demand heating, so they don't require a tank. It's as needed. They heat water as needed. This is considered more efficient. For more details on tankless water heaters, as well as heat pump water heaters, I suggest visiting the Energy Star webpage or searching online. In fact, there is a very useful heat pump water heater Energy Star video that I linked to below. That's not in the treasure map, but it describes the heat pumped water heaters a little bit. And it was a useful marketing tool for us a few years ago. So I encourage you to check that out for the indoor water savings. And then for the outdoor savings, there are additional things to think about, and they can be realized through irrigation and stormwater management best practices, including rain gardens and bioretention spaces. For more details on that, there's a link to EPA Saving in the Rain, Green Stormwater Solutions for Congregations specifically. And I believe that this document may relate to some of the content that Tiffany just went over, and she presented for the National Wildlife Federation Sacred Ground Program regarding the benefits of creating green spaces. So there's seems to be some overlap here. And that said, this is my contact information. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me directly. Also check out the product listings on this top link, and any commercial food service specific information at the bottom link. So at this point, I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. Do we have any questions? We're kind of running late, but if anyone wants to ask a question, that's fine. Otherwise, she'll be available, I'm sure. Okay, great. A lot of information. Thank you so much for joining us, Tanya.
Yeah, no problem.
All right,
Thank you
take
for
care.
having me. Bye.
Bye. So everybody, we are running unusually late. We usually end early. So we can decide at this time if you guys want to stay on and do some updates from you guys. I'm available to stay on. I'm sure Jennifer is. What would you guys like to do? Stay on and hear what a few people have to say about what they've been up to, or does anybody have to run?
I'll just do a quick one. You know, we had the presentation from Toggled last meeting, and Ryan Day came out to the church and reviewed our lights. And what we've done, we've changed all our fluorescents, not a lot, but there were 20 of them, to their new light. And it's a warm light, and it was much brighter than the existing fluorescent. So we're really pleased. We're very pleased. And yes, and so that was good. And then the other thing that we learned is we've got a lot of chandelier bulbs, and there's some new technology out there. Before, when they were LEDs, they had a rod in the center of them. They didn't look good in a chandelier. So we're going to investigate those. And then we, in our main sanctuary where we had CFLs, we're looking at LED lights. So, but that's just all work in process. But it was very productive, and we're very pleased. But it did take an electrician to change out the fluorescent lights. It wasn't quite a walk in the park. That's all.
I have maybe a question for Jennifer. How do I coordinate what we accomplished with 2030 and IPL? So I'm assuming that you probably is my go-to person since you connected with both as well. So what do I do? What do we do to connect the two so we could? I feel that we're doing good, but I'm the novice right here. So how do we connect and collaborate the two?
Let me get back with you offline on that. I will follow up with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That was Calvin who just spoke, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so yeah, we work closely together, obviously, and you can ask either of us questions, but Jennifer, she's MIPL, she would be a good contact for you. And strictly for this program, Bob Matler is your ambassador, so reach out to him for help too.
Oh, okay, because I normally been trying to run down Kendall, and so I'm trying to make sure that I'm, addressing my concerns to the right person.
Yeah, when it comes to our program, I mean, Kendall is really just the data portion that, and the data to get that in there. And she wanted me to remind everybody to sign up for the Detroit Energy Challenge. Hopefully you have the link.
Yes, I do.
Okay, if anybody doesn't know how to do that, let me know. We can send you the link again. It's very easy. But yeah, so Kendall's really more just the data. And then for our 2030, for this program,
Bob.
you have Bob and Jennifer, and then of course I'm always available too.
So yeah, Pastor Glass, anything that has to do with the treasure hunt checklist and lighting or energy efficiency, that would be Bob Matler from Detroit 2030. But if it's the solar piece, I will get back with you. I will connect with Leah and find out what to do with that piece.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. I got so much help around me. That's great.
Yeah, if you get the wrong person, it's okay. We'll just send you to somebody.
Okay.
Send you to the right person.
All right.
Bob, you look like you want to say something.
Well, I just wanted to, first of all, give a shout out to Kendall, because I appreciate the hand-holding and the work that she follows up, and others have, she's done for others and us. And I know I'm going to need more, and I really can see why firsthand now why, where Michigan IPL might have helped houses of worship start up with portfolio manager, but if you don't follow through, it's sort of like buying a new car or new something else and not maintaining it.
Yeah.
Maintenance
Hard.
is extremely important. And I know this now through the next year really is going to be one of a lot of more research for me. Solar lighting right now for parking lot is something that we're going to get involved with a major renovation of our parking lot. And if I'm not careful, somebody's going to get ahead of me and try to just go ahead and do something. So if anybody has products, literally products that deal with standalone or probably electric assist, like, that still are connected to the grid, so that we have a reliable power all the way through if needed. That's the kind of product I'm trying to find.
All right, keep that in mind. Yeah, and the thing with energy data and water data, I think Kendall's putting you all into the DTE hub. Before that, Jennifer and I always ran these workshops and people sat down with their bills, and it wasn't a one-time thing, it was every single month. So it just became 2 times, and you had to be super detailed. So we're so glad that the DTE hub is up and running now, but that took a long time, about a year of advocacy, I could say, from a couple groups to get DTE to do that, set it up. Good. Bruce, do you want to say anything before we go?
Only another ditto what Bob just said. Kendall's been wonderful. I've been going through a lot of stuff lately, but things have settled down, and I'm still learning. But this what we had today was just great. This is very informational, and I'm sure that we will benefit from it. So I'm just happy to be here.
Good.
Great.
A lot to learn, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Kind of never ending. Once you start, it just isn't going to end for the rest of our lives, I feel like, with sustainability. Yeah.
I have an architect working with me at our church building, and it's okay if I share this with him. Okay, good.
Can I ask what firm?
Well, this is he's not. Well, his firm is called. His name is Ron O'Million. He used to work for downtown for. I can't think of the name of the firm now, but he's in partnership with another architect, and he was very beneficial in assessing our building. I had our building assessed maybe a year and a half ago, and we're in the process now of we got a game plan together and a priority list, and we're working through those priorities. First being the roof. And I'm happy to say that we've made great strides in that.
Are you installing a new roof?
Our bell tower was in poor shape, and we did have to build a new roof on that. And there's some other problems with it throughout the building that we're addressing now. But I would say 90% of our water problems from the roof are gone.
Okay.
So we made a lot of progress.
Yeah, that.
And I can also tell everybody that the boiler people we've been working with, we finally found out that our thermostats weren't working like they should. There's a valve that supplied, steam to the sanctuary, and our sanctuary is huge. So you can imagine the amount of steam required to warm it. We found a faulty control switch on the valve, and I haven't got the latest bill yet, but I'm hopeful that there'll be a big difference.
Well, our next month, we're covering the HVAC with a gentleman from Performance Engineering who does a lot of work on the old systems and the houses of worship. So he would be a good person to ask questions to.
Right. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Okay, Pastor Griffin, she seems like, I don't know if she's really on the phone or not. Or here, it says it's connecting. Anybody, any other house of worships updates? No, anybody else want to say anything? You want to say hi? Sonia, you want to say anything? Peggy, Jennifer?
Hi,
Hi, Peggy.
hi, and I'm the technical person with, for Lord of Lords, so if you need any
Oh,
help
Kelvin.
there, let me know.
All right, Peggy, I sure will.
Okay.
Yeah. Utilize her.
Yes.
Great resource and our founder of our program, so. Good. I just had a couple quick announcements. Kendall did want me to remind, I think I said, to join the Detroit Energy Challenge, which also puts you in the Michigan Battle of the Building. Our breakfast for those awards is June 15th, I believe. Make sure you sign up for our newsletters so you can know about all these events. That's the best way to make sure you don't miss something. And that is I believe our next in-person event. Jennifer, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I think you covered it. Just, I guess, from my perspective, I think it's important that we support each other as, you know, a really select group of houses of worship going through this process this year. And so if you have, like Warren had, an inspiring story to share, you know, share that with us so that we can share it with others to inspire them. And we want to really lift up your stories. So as you're doing your projects, think about taking pictures, getting quotes from clergy and lay leaders, and just calling us so that maybe we can support you with all of that. Because we think these are important stories to share.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, we didn't go too far over. Yay. So our next meeting is March 15th, I believe.
Yes.
And we're going to cover HVAC
Yep.
and plug load, which is, you know, just all your little things in your building being plugged in. It's kind of interesting. These were the same two speakers as last year on the topic. And he's got other stuff he's going to talk about too, but we're happy that they wanted to come back. And I did send everybody the form to complete. You know, the blank form, just your monthly update, just resave it, put in a sentence or two of what you worked on, and then send it to your ambassador or me or Jennifer, and we'll get it into our folders. The forms are really just our way of being able to look back and have updates and to be able to submit that if we want to apply for future grants for this program. So I think that's all I have. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. Sun's trying to come out over here. Anything else from anybody? No, all good?
Gotta go back to work.
Thank you very much.
Go
Thanks,
back to
Johnny.
your-
Thanks. Everybody enjoy their day.
Take care,
God bless
everybody.
you all.
Bye. Quit recording. Stop recording. Are you sure?